So we have 2 more days of content. 2 more days of content. Simplifying Radicals Day 1, which is today. Simplifying Radicals Day 2, which is tomorrow. On Monday, you're going to do something called the Extension Day, which is your first day doing that, and I'll explain that once we get there. Tuesday, these reviews that you're picking up today are due. Now, let me just explain what happens. The way that reviews always work in every single algebra review day. When you walk in, there'll be a review on the board. The review slide will give you a warm-up slide. Give you a warm-up slide, and it'll say, take your reviews out and work on this warm-up. So you're going to be working on a warm-up, but you're supposed to bring your reviews out and put them on your desk. I will then walk around while y'all doing the warm-up, and I'm checking everybody's review. If you did not do the review, complete the review, I email your parents right then. And here's why. Because I'm trying to be very, very respectful of y'all's time. I know that you have football and cross-country and cheerleading and volleyball and all these things that are going on in your lives, right? And sometimes you actually have to go and sit with siblings when they do their thing. I'm giving you a review 5 days in advance. There is no excuse for not completing your review. None. Because you can find an hour to an hour and a half in the next 5 full days over a weekend to do the review. And your parents always agree with me. Okay? Yep.
Can I just turn my review and
Absolutely not.
on Monday?
No.
Because I'm not going to be here on Tuesday.
I know. Ready for the next part of my announcement?
Yes.
Outstanding. There are those of you in band that are not going to be here on Tuesday. I've already told Mr. Williams to re-announce to the band, and I'm doing the same thing. You will still take the test on Wednesday. Okay? The review answer key will be posted on the website Tuesday morning for you to take your review and cross-reference against the answer key to make sure you understand everything that's going on, and then you come in Wednesday and take the test. But if I took the review, you wouldn't have anything to study. Got it? Yes, ma'am.
I think we come back at 12.
Yeah, and if you do, if you're back, you're back. If you're not, the answer key's there and you can work it in, no problem. Okay? So that's next week. And then on Thursday, we'll start Unit 2. We'll get new packets, all that fun stuff. Good to go, everyone? All right, factors. What are factors of a number?
Something that multiplies with something else.
Perfect, Connor. 2 numbers that multiply together to get you the number. So when we make a factor tree or a T, we always start with 1 and the number, and then what do we do from there? 2, 44, 3 does not go in because we know the divisibility rules. 4 and 22, 5 does not go in, 6, 7, and then 8. Can we get that? Outstanding. Pick up your calculators, turn them on, and clear them. Second plus 712. Second plus 712. And William, before you leave here today, get me that test back. If you took yesterday, I wasn't supposed to. Yes? Okay, then pick up another one. Hey, if yours didn't turn on, do what? Oh, yeah, because they don't give you batteries. Yeah, they don't buy your batteries for you. So, yeah.
Ram cleared.
Ooh, she was. Ooh. I'll get complaints. When you check out a calculator, typically they don't give you batteries. If they do, you're just getting very, very lucky. They figure if they're giving you a $120 calculator, you can buy your own set of batteries. Okay? But I would, and by the way, when you check out a calculator, do not bring it in this room. Keep it at home. It'll get mixed up in my stock, and it'll be a mess because that serial number is checked out to you. Okay? So does everyone have them turned on? I want to point out a few buttons that are very, very important in the calculator, so listen carefully. You see the second button at the top left-hand corner, right? The blue button? The blue button is what gives you those second functions. So if you look at, like for example, look at the x squared button, which is on the left-hand side about midway down. So that, if you want to square a number, you would type in like 5 and hit x squared, and it'll square it for you. Now, if you want, what's the little blue symbol above the x squared button?
The
Square root. So if you want to find the square root of a number, you would have to hit second x squared. The radical will come up. Then you can type in 25 and hit enter. It'll tell you it's 5. So the secondary functions are found using the second button. Okay? A few other buttons that are important to you. If you look next to the green button, to the right of the green button, there's a button that says X, T, and then it has a theta sign, which is a Greek letter. See all those? The button next to the green button. That is the X variable button. So if you were in a position to type in 5X, you would type in 5 and hit that button, it'll put an X on your screen. A few other quick buttons. Clear, which is under the toggle buttons, up, right, up, down, left, right. There's a clear button underneath that. That will typically clear your screen. If it does not, if you look next to the second button, there's a button that says mode. What's the second function of the mode button? Quit. So if you hit second mode, it will always take you back to a clear screen no matter where you are. The quit button takes you back no matter what. Okay? Those are just a few buttons that you need to know about. Any questions on what I just said? Ryan?
For the X and T one, can you do more than one variable?
No, not right now. You don't need to. Okay, so I want everyone to go ahead and clear your screens. Make sure you did the second plus 712. And then if you look at the button at the very top right, under the screen, on the top left, under the screen, the far left-hand side, there's a button that says Y equals. I want you to hit Y equals. It'll take you to a Y equals screen. You don't need to know exactly what it does, but I do want you to do this for me. I want you to type in where it says Y equals, I want you to type in 88.
I'm confused.
Okay.
Did you hit the Y equals button?
So when you go down,
I just said, under the screen, top left. I want you to type in 88 divided by X. Remember, the X button is to the right of the green button, and it should show on your screen, 88 divided by X.
sorry, wait, factory.
Just let everyone get there. Okay? And we got 88 divided by X. Now we're going to go to a table. Now to get the table, if you look at the top right-hand corner under the screen, there's a button that says graph. But the blue function of the graph button is table. So hit second graph, and it'll take you to a table.
Error.
What do you see?
Error.
No.
Error.
Blue. I'm recording and can play for parents to give a demonstration of sometimes how people are disrupted.
Just showing how I'm just telling you.
No, there was only one error. The fact that you said it multiple times is a different thing. Now, why is there an error next to 0? What does it give you otherwise? It gives you all the factors of 88. Now, a couple things I want to point out. When we talk about factoring a number, I'm only concerned with positive numbers for right now. It will go to your negatives, but I'm only concerned with positives. I'm also not concerned with decimals or partials. I'm only concerned with whole number pairs. So 1 and 88, 2 and 44, 4 and 22, etc.
It goes like all the way down to like 143.
It gives you all the factors. Now, so let's go back to the Y equals screen, and let's find the factors of 80. Go back to Y equals. Do not add in another number. Clear line 1, and then type in 80 divided by X. Clear out your line, then do 80 divided by X. Go back to your table using the second graph buttons and look at the factors of 80. It should give you 1 and 80, 2 and 40, 4 and 20, 5 and 16, 7, 8, and 10. And then it gives you all the decimals, but we don't care about the decimals.
It's working.
Any questions on that? Kind of cool, right?
Yeah.
Now, no kidding, guys. Most of you should know your factors, but if you don't, that's a pretty helpful button. Now, I want you to turn your notes to the note side. Put your calculators down so you're not tempted to be distracted, because I want you listening. Turn it over if you need to turn it over. Thank you. Alrighty. Now, before we begin factoring or simplifying radicals, I need everyone to understand that there are two groups of numbers that I want you to be kind of aware of. One is what I call a good square root list, and one is what I call a bad square root list. The good square root list are basically any square roots that become whole numbers. So we would start with the square root of 4, because the square root of 4 is 2. And then we would have the square root of 9, because the square root of 9 is 3. What would be next? The square root of 16, then 36, and so on. I want you to write on the right-hand side of your notes, I want you to list every good square root between the square root of 4 and the square root of 144. I want you to list every good square root between the square root of 4 and the square root of 144. By the way, that should be 11 numbers.
Whoa.
Should only be 11 numbers. Square root of 4, square root of 9. And I would strongly recommend that every time you have a simplifying radicals paper, you make this list. It'll take you all of probably 30 seconds to write down these 11 numbers once you figure out the pattern on finding them.
It's so easy.
Yeah, it really is. Once you figure it out, you know. Grab your notes. They're writing down the list of good square roots on the left-hand side of the paper. I mean, right-hand side, I'm sorry. So again, you should have 11 total numbers. If I figured out you're just going backwards, squaring backwards, numbers in order. Yeah. So 7 squared, 8 squared, 9 squared, 10 squared, 11 squared. Okay? Those are the 11 numbers you're going to need. Get used to making that list. Yes, sir. Not right now. I want you to finish this lesson. All right. Now I want you to watch. I'm going to do a couple, then I'll have you do one. When you're simplifying radicals, it works a lot like prime factorization. If you remember prime factorization is where we take a number like 28 and we split it. 7 times 4, 7 was prime, so we would circle it. Then we would split 4 into 2 times 2. So the prime factorization was 2 times 2 times 7. Remember all that? Okay. So when we're going to simplify a radical, it works very similarly to that. We're going to split it. Now here's what we're going to split it to. We're going to split it into 2 numbers that when multiplied together get you 88. Now here's the rule. The number on the left, the square root on the left, must be from your good list, and it must be the largest number you can find from your good square root list. And whether you're using a calculator to find the factors or you just know the factors of 88, you'll figure out pretty quickly that it's basically 4 times 22. 4 is the largest good square root that goes into 88 evenly, and it goes 22 times. Which means that the square root of 4 times the square root of 22 is the square root of 88.
That is cool.
Okay? Good question. Now, the reason we put the good square root on the left is we'll now take the square root of that number. What's the square root of 4? 2. So, what we end up with is that, which is the simplified version of that.
Oh my God.
Now, just so we're clear, pick back up your calculators. Johnny, I want to run over and snag one real quick. Pick back up your calculators. Find me the square root of 88, which is second x squared, brings up the radical, type in 88 and hit enter. It'll give you the square root of 88. Now, while that's still on your screen and without clearing it, I want you to type in 2 square root 22 and hit enter also. What do you notice? They're the same number. And guys, that's an important thing to understand. Because, just like when you simplify fractions, guys, 4/8 and 1/2 are the same value, right? These are also, one is a simplified version of the other. Now let me show you one more. If I'm going to split 80, again, I need good square root, bad square root. Now what good square root goes into 80? 4 certainly does. However, there's a problem. Hayden?
That there's a higher one.
Which is?
16.
16. You need the largest good square root that goes in. And 16 times 5 is indeed 80. And square root of 16 is a good square root. Square root of 16 becomes 4. So the square root of 80 is simplified to 4 root 5. Try the square root of 45, please. Remember, you need to pick your factor on the left from the good square root list. Ask yourself, what good square root goes into 45? That's all I was doing. That's okay. So you just, here, reach mine.
I got it. Calculator is a good way to check it, Mr. Smith.
Which one goes into 45? So we're going to split. Remember, this number needs to come from this list. Now, you start rolling. I always go top to bottom. I start finding the one that goes into 45 evenly. Which one do I get to? 9. 9 times 5 is 45. What is the square root of 9? 3 times the square root of 5 is my answer. These two numbers must multiply together to get your original. Okay? What happens when we get something like this? The square root of 65. Well, I need to split it. Now, I'm going down my list. Square root of 4 does not. Square root of 9 does not. 16 does not. 25 does not. 36 does not. Nothing does. Right? This is what is called a prime root. It is what is called a prime root. And a prime root is a square root that cannot be simplified. Now, here's the thing you have to be very careful about, guys. There are some numbers that don't look prime because you think prime composite, like in regular world, like the square root of 22. You'll think, well, there's got to be a way square root of 22 can break down. Well, 4 doesn't go in, and 9 doesn't go in, and 16 doesn't. It is a prime root. It's not a prime number by itself, but it is a prime square root because it cannot break down. Prime square root. Okay? So watch what happens when we have other numbers. Just eyes up so everyone watches. I'll do a couple, you'll do a couple, then you move on to classwork. So I'm going to split this into 9 times 7. I'm going to bring the negative sign with me. It's like a coefficient, which gives me negative 3 times the square root of 7. Same thing here. What good square root goes into 72? Or 36. Because if you did 9, that's not the largest one that goes in. So you need to slow your roll. 5 times 6 root 2, which equals 30 times the square root of 2. What about what? 21 is not a good square root, right? It has to come from the good square root list. So you guys do 7 and 8 for me, please. Remember, split it good left, bad right. Bring your coefficient down to finish at the end. Drew. I'm getting this. Will, how did you split 300? 103. Remember, it has to be the largest good square root on the left. Square root of 100 is 10. 10 times negative 2 is negative 20. Square root of 3. Right? Diana, split 288, please. Perfect. 144 and 2. Square root of 144 is indeed 12, which gives us 36 times the square root of 2. Yes, sir.
Number 7 is 150 and 2 count.
No, because 150 is not a good square root. Remember, it has to come from the good square root list. The good square root list is that list of square roots that become whole numbers. So it's the square roots of 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, and so on. That's the only place that left-hand number can come from. Okay? Today, you have no homework, you have classwork. When you are done, you may pick up and work on your review.